Try taking a poop without texting. Try cooking without social media. Try having a shower without music. Try driving in silence. Try the popular one. Try seeing a movie without eating. We all know that the food is not going to last as long as the movie, so what's the point? I mean, there is a certain level of productivity that you're going to unlock by just doing one thing at a time. I'm not saying pick a career and just focus on that career. Nah, not that deep. Let's even do it very basic. One thing at a time, meaning if you're cooking, just cook in silence. If you're driving, just drive. If you're taking a poop, just take a poop. Let your mind breathe, let your mind rest. You don't have to always do 2 things at a time or 3 things at a time. I know some people find pleasure in doing 2 things at a time. In fact, some people they use it as a flex. That I can do 2 things at a time. I can multitask. I mean, that's the fancy word for it, multitasking. And to be honest, it looks cool when you're doing it, but in reality, you're actually killing your productivity, because the moment you start focusing on one thing at a time, you unlock a certain level of productivity that you didn't even know existed. For example, when you cook and not do anything else, your full mind focuses on the cooking. Before you know it, you begin to experiment in certain ways that you didn't even know you could do. Before you know it, you observe things that you didn't even notice all the time you've been cooking. Before you know it, you start seeing certain things that were always there, but because of how distracted you've always been, because that is how I see it. When you're doing 2 things at a time, you're just distracting yourself from the other. For example, the cooking is distracting you from focusing fully on your social media, or the social media is distracting you fully from focusing fully on the cooking. So when you just do one thing at a time, for example, as I said, the cooking, you start noticing very small nuances here and there that were always there, but you didn't notice. For example, you could just notice that, oh, it's so nice to see that the food boils in like 10 minutes. I didn't know it boils in like 10 minutes. This whole time I thought it boils in like 30 minutes. Yeah, it boils in like 30 minutes because you spend a lot of time on something else that makes you feel like the time is passing, like the time is so slow. So focusing on just that cooking helps you, just allows your mind, the creativity to bring new ideas in that scenario. Sometimes it might not even be about the cooking. Sometimes your mind begins to wander around, and before you know it, you remember something that you wouldn't have remembered, something that maybe the cooking reminds you of that you wouldn't have remembered. For example, maybe a memory where you were cooking with somebody, you wouldn't have remembered it if you were pressing your phone and cooking, or maybe there's something else that you do, something else in the creative field that you do, and cooking just kind of unlocked some kind of ideas, in your head that, what if let's say, for example, what if I used grains of rice to design this? Yeah, that will make a lot of sense. So doing one thing at a time just, allows your mind the freedom to explore various possibilities. The one that works so well for me, it works wonders, is having a shower without music. I used to be the guy who, I can't go to the shower without my speaker with me on my phone. I'll play music on a high volume and I'll be, doing all the karaoke stuff, singing along to songs, It is fun. It's still fun. Every now and then, maybe I do that, but I try not to do that all the time, because I've realized that every time I go to the bathroom without doing that, I just realize there's so many things that just happen in my head. Like while I'm having a shower, my mind will start wandering. Things that maybe I was working on something, I was working on a video before I went to have a shower. The perfect idea for that video begins to come, A lot of times it's just all the things that I, have been stressed about. it just releases that whole stress, and before you know it, I get the perfect idea for various things that I'm supposed to be working on, you know. So that shower part really did wonders for me. Another one that did wonders for me is driving in silence. Every time, like, I'm that guy who, when I just get into the car, I'm like, before I even like start moving, I already pick the song I'll be listening to, you know, through the ride. And it's been fun. It's always fun actually, but I'm not all about fun. I want productivity too, and I've realized that driving in silence actually unlocks a certain level of productivity for me. That, you know, when I'm driving, I just look around. Because the funny thing is, when you're playing music, I don't know how it works, but your ears feel like, you know, you just feel like you cannot see as clearly as you would see. For example, if you're driving and playing music and something happens, have you ever noticed that when something happens, the first thing you do is to turn off the music? Like, let's say you hit somebody by mistake, or you narrowly escaped an accident. The first thing you do is to turn off the music. Why? Because the music is not only, you know, giving you all the fun and everything, it actually distracts. It's actually a distraction for your eyes, for your ears. And this is coming from somebody who is a musician, because maybe because of the music that I play, it allows me, like, for example, after we play a show and we're going back home, a lot of musicians just like, come on, just turn it off, because like we've played so much music and we just want to have like that silence. So I guess that's where I kind of like, you know, explored that silence, and from that time I've never turned back on it. So understanding the importance of silence in a lot of things, like for example, watching a movie and eating. When you're watching a movie, it's important to be so locked into the movie, because that's when you get the full experience of the movie. For example, when shooting a movie, there are various nuances that these directors put here and there, various, you know, hidden, you know, it's hidden because you're not paying attention, but in essence, in reality, it's actually just very, you know, just here and there, so that you have to find it a bit to be able to, you know, you have to put some effort to find it, you know, to be able to see what they did in certain scenes. But because you're eating and seeing a movie, you probably never, you know, notice those nuances. And this happens in every other thing in life, you know. When you focus on one thing at a time, for example, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm not trying to press my phone, so my brain is fully focused on that. Even while I'm talking to you, there's another distraction that people do, is when I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about what next to talk to you about. That is a distraction. So it's important to be in the moment in everything that you do. If you're cooking, just cook. If you're eating, just eat. I think eating is the one people take so like, a lot of people underestimate how good it can get if you just eat without pressing your phone. Like, apart from the health benefits, where, for example, if you're eating outside, you'll be able to monitor what you're actually eating in case there's something that something that they didn't do, or maybe an insect that they left inside the food. You know, apart from that, there is just this level of happiness, level of calmness, level of peace that comes with just, you know, focusing on the food. Like, while you're eating it, eat, nothing else. A lot of times why people do two things at a time is to avoid boredom. But the funny thing is, the master of creativity, or the biggest source of creativity, is actually boredom. When you're bored, things begin to happen. There's this thing they say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop, and that's what people use to, you know, justify doing a lot of things at the same time, not allowing themselves to be bored. But one thing that's, you know, one part of that statement that maybe was not talked about is, an idle mind is the devil's workshop if you want it to be. So yes, you have an idle mind at the moment, you're just being calm. It will only be the devil's workshop if you let it be. If you engage your mind in positive thoughts, you will not, like, you'll be surprised how much you can actually think about, how much can come into your mind, how much, you know, you can achieve just being silent. So try to be silent, try to explore silence, try to do just one thing at a time, and you'll be surprised, you'll be surprised how much productivity you can unlock, how much creativity you can unlock, and just how peaceful it can be just doing one thing at a time. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in another video.